I am joined today by a special guest who lives down in the Riviera Maya region of Mexico. This is the Yucatan area, south of Cancun. And he's working on a project that is about self-sufficiency, about having an independent property, networking with like-minded people, and really being resilient about a lot of the things that could happen in the world that would put us in danger. So I'm joined by Mariano Goren, and he has a project called ARCA. And so I'm going to let him explain a little bit about this project. Mariano, thanks for joining.
Hey, Joe, thanks a lot for the invitation. Here is my welcome for the guys here. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So if you think that is appropriate, Joe, I can share my screen so we can talk over some slides and make it more fun. What do you think?
Let's do that. Let's get the visuals up.
So this was a presentation that I did for both in the Greater Reset with Derek Bros back in Morelia here in Mexico, and also in Tribalize a few weeks ago. And it's, very focused on the practical aspects of, what we are doing here with ARCA. But what I will do is to start by presenting the project a little bit. In a nutshell, ARCA is a civilization building project, and the way to achieve that that we have in mind is to start by acquiring ranches and farms, to then integrate regenerative technologies, and then integrate this residential development, so we can get self-sufficiency, in a box, so to speak. So if people want to know more,
built on a foundation of food self-sufficiency, essentially, because this sounds like first step is get the land required to support people, and then you bring in the number of people that the land could support. Is that correct?
Exactly, and that
Perfect.
Time gives you that time in which you are working in incorporating the regenerative technologies to the farm or ranch. You will get a better idea, on how to organize the whole permaculture, so to speak, how this whole thing will work. So if people wants to know more about ARCA, the URL is arca.land. There they can also subscribe to the newsletter and be kept into the loop. So, the thing with ARCA is that I started the project when I saw that, the things that were going in the world, were not the kind of world that I wanted for me in the future and for my family. But all of this, was related to my story with technology, which was, this love story in which I've been traveling the world, designing, I come from another industry, totally unrelated, which is the software development industry. Here I work, with several of the big names, Fortune 500 companies, startups. At the same time, I was traveling the world, having these amazing experiences. Barcelona, I was living down in Melbourne, Australia, Santiago de Chile. And there, in Santiago de Chile in 2020, the pandemic arrived, right? So I got a very good glimpse of what the future had for me and my lifestyle, as a digital nomad. Obviously, when I was in Chile, I got very depressed.
Were you kind of stuck there, or were you able to?
Yeah. No, stuck. And I don't know if you are aware of this, but there and then what we had was to ask for permission to the police via internet to get out of your home, and if you want to go to the supermarket, you only get 2 a week, 2 hours each time,
Yep.
So
people like twice a week to walk their dog or something, craziness like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where you were back then, Joe, but it probably was a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I was in Puerto Rico at the time, and I get the feeling that even if Puerto Rico wanted to do that, they couldn't. But I lived in a more not in the city, so there was a lot less scrutiny. The people that were in San Juan, it wasn't quite that bad, but yeah, if you were out in public, you better have a good excuse. It was like hall monitors, high school lockdown, basically.
Exactly, exactly. Well, in Chile, I had a few experiences with people, like normal people that became Nazi really quick, under those circumstances.
It really
Um,
exposed, the basic, exposed the basic underlying psychology of a lot of people, which do they just comply, or are they have any bit of free thinking, can make some decisions for themselves.
yeah, it's like a spine test, if you have any spine. But probably about this, and this guide was like that moment of enlightenment, when I saw this report coming to my email. It was like, oh my god, I already know where I'm going next. So
Yep. So, and
as
this is
soon, yeah,
for context for anybody watching. I work for Sovereign, and my coworker Murat was living in Chile at the time, and he with his family, and he was born in the Soviet Union. So this wasn't the first go around for him. And so when you have somebody born in the Soviet Union and sees something happening that resembles the Soviet Union, you should probably listen to them. He looked for the places to go. This is what this company Sovereign does, and he decided to go to Yucatan. So I'll let you get back to it there.
No, exactly. That the story actually was from someone that, as you said, he was in Chile and he escaped. So
Yeah.
it was for me like, oh, if he did it, I should do it too, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I will leave the QR code there for anyone that wants to visit the webpage of Sovereign Research. It's amazing material. And, then when I arrived here in the Riviera, at first, it was a little bit weird because I could notice the difference between the people that was there before, which were more like spring breakers, and the digital nomads, entrepreneurs that were coming in search for freedom. So that was pretty amazing, the group of people that was already here. And then this date, 28th of October, 2021, Mark Zuckerberg announces, or Overlord announces that we are going to live our life through metaverse now. So in that moment, I saw the total control matrix coming through, like it was clear now. I don't know if you had any experience in the same sense, Joe?
I definitely, when I saw the pushes with the vaccine and, them wanting to force you to get a vaccine in order to participate in everyday life, that right. To me, I said, this is the hill I have to die on, metaphorically, hopefully. But because at that point, once you go beyond that, there's no going back. If you don't have control over what you can inject into your own body, make your own health decisions, and you can be ostracized from society for that, there's no going back. So yes, that was the clear sign that something has changed, that we've moved beyond normal.
Exactly. Great. It ties up with the next slide here, which is, exactly what we are describing here. All of these levers allows them to have total control over your incorporation into society, right? Like,
yeah.
You cannot make anything wrong because all of these, they can turn them off.
Right. And we
so
saw that with the Canadian truckers, the freezing
they're
bank accounts.
They're still in jail, some of them, right?
Really?
Yeah. So, I guess that the biggest problem, because that was always possible, right? You are a dissident, they can always, get you to jail. But now the problem is the immediacy of, the consequences of your dissidence. So you posted something that is wrong, in Twitter. 20 minutes later, you don't have access to your bank. You don't have access, I know that you don't like Andrew Tate, but but he was another, a good example of how quick, they can cut you off.
Yeah, you're referring to a video I recently made, but I actually,
yes.
I don't really have a problem with Andrew Tate. I thought the point was more about, I actually pro masculinity.
Polarization.
But yeah, exactly.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
It was a really good video because I really liked how you put it, that now we live in these times of extremes, right?
Right. Yeah. I worry about the pendulum swinging back and forth, too far in one direction. And while I definitely think that the pendulum is on a certain side right now, I do think to the future.
Yeah, right.
But anyway,
well, no, I wanted to bring that because I think it's a really good perspective on it. So moving forward, what I started doing when I saw this coming was, okay, I need to start understanding what are going to be the consequences for me, given that this is the agenda. They are telling me what they are going to do. So, okay, what is going to happen? And first
that is the nice thing about them, right? That they always tell us what they're going to do. It's actually not a huge mystery what their plans are. And it actually allows you to respond quite well. But anyway, just
absolutely. No, actually, they couldn't execute these plans if they don't tell you before. They need to make this something that is more like palatable by doing it more common.
The Overton window, right? They have to expand that until it seems normal to people. Like, well, haven't we always been forced to be vaccinated, or haven't we always had our financials cut off if we say the wrong thing? Yeah,
right. You cannot oppose the government. Why you would do that? The social contract is there. Why? Right? So they can weaponize exactly everything, basically.
Right.
And one of the, the most important implications for me is that, starting 2027, as they announced, I will not be able to connect to internet, like, not even dial-up for those that are old enough to understand this. But, basically, the Pentagon is preparing everything to cut off the people that is not identifying themselves with these, digital IDs. So, I don't know what you think about it, but in my case, I needed, to reevaluate a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, anonymity is it seems like a basic right, the internet is infrastructure. So to cut off somebody's access to that infrastructure without particular, demands, it would be like being searched in public for no good reason. We're innocent until proven guilty, and a police officer is supposed to have probable cause to demand to see your ID
supposedly.
In public. So, right. Walking down the street and being forced to have a billboard over your head with who you are is no different than connecting to the internet with those same rules. So
exactly. There you go. Exactly. So, this was one of the most important implications that I said, okay, with this, I basically need to start thinking about other things, doing other things with my life. And then we have, the real life implications. The most violent one, I guess, is the districtization of our cities, in these 15 minutes cities. Do you think that they are going to achieve this goal?
I think in some places they are. I think in cities, it's it's already the easiest place to do it. We saw it. This is how the conversation started. We saw it with COVID. So Santiago was a 15-minute city, or at least a preview of the control mechanisms, or how, who gets to say if you're allowed to leave your house to walk your dog. And I have a feeling that perhaps part of the point is that it's going to be harder to control people in rural areas. That's at least my opinion.
Well, they probably will have some measurements to that, or they will try. But the problem, as you said, is that the cities are the perfect, what Jason Christoph calls the kill box. So, in the military jargon, you call the kill box a perimeter that you determine, and then you bombard, you see different layers of attack to that particular kill box. And, cities, by the way they are constructed, is really easy to create these areas. And I will share one thing with you. I don't know if you're aware of this. This was a very funny tweet, funny for me at least, which says, I like more the 80s prototype here on the right.
Yeah.
This is EV 209. Have you seen RoboCop, the movie?
Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah.
Okay. What I liked about this one, is that it's honest design. clearly it's going there, it's going to kill you or do something really bad. It's
Right.
clear, it has cannons. But on the other side, on the left, we can see here these 5G enabled LED towers. And I don't know how much information you have about this, about the sensors and things that it has.
Not much.
Cool, I will go over them really briefly. First of all, they will have, cameras, face recognition cameras or facial recognition cameras. They will have a sound system so they, they can talk to you through the lamp, basically. And they then things start to getting weirder because these will have, like weather and environmental sensors. So basically, they are able to see and understand what is happening in the surroundings. And the most daring thing, I would say, are the lights themselves. Have you ever heard of an LED incapacitator, Joe?
I have not, no.
Okay, I will put it simple. Imagine a flashlight, okay? But this flashlight has so much brightness in the LED lamps and is flashing in this, randomized, very, fuzzy pulses. This can cause vomit, nausea, headaches, even death. Only with light, with LED lights. So as you can see here in the lower part, when I was researching about this, obviously here is a policeman using the lamp as a flashlight to immobilize immobilize the subject. But here on the right, we can see that this guy is using some yellow lenses, glasses. So I guess that those, will help us to walk in the streets without being.
So I should be all set as long as I have my
there you go. There you
blocking
go,
glasses. So all ready to go.
Already ready. That's fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. But with this guarding the 15-minute zones, how you get out?
Right. It's just crowd control, or for them it sounds more like pest control.
Well, seems like they think about us in that way. But what I would say is that if your audience wants to research over this, this is readily available in Wikipedia, actually.
Yep.
So here, I paused and I said, okay, so for me, it's not going to be, cities are not going to be the place that I want to be in with all of these risks, and problems and control. And I will not be able to work as a designer anymore. I'm going to basically be losing all my lifestyle, everything that I thought that I wanted as my life. So my 25-year story with technology, this love story was coming to an end. It was pretty clear. And probably you will feel connection with this slide. I don't know who created it, but it's really amazing. And it says, your God power is your ability to assign meaning. And here it says meaning equals interpretation equals belief. So, everything that happens in your life can be taken as an opportunity or as a bad thing. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I know so many people who, got fired from a job and it ended up being the best thing that happened to them because then they started the project that they really wanted to work on and that took off. So I totally agree.
Exactly. And I believe that you also had in a certain moment in time when you discover everything that was happening that you needed to do something too, right? That is why you're building that community too, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a slow roll for me because I've always sort of been a little anti-establishment. But I remember taking a class in college called Genocide and Violence. And basically, so every day for a semester, we would go in there and learn about the worst atrocities that governments have ever committed against their citizens. And it's happened way too many times for comfort. Seems like more of the rule than the exception. And I would say that was definitely deeply psychologically affecting for me when I was like, this is the biggest, arguably, based on the number of deaths caused in the 20th century alone, it's arguably the biggest problem that humanity faces right now is genocidal
Democide,
governments.
you mean?
Sorry?
Democide?
Yes.
Genocide by government. Okay,
Yep.
so sorry, that was your conclusion after the semester?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like to me. And going by the numbers alone, it's an argument to be made.
Wow. I'm aware that governments created most of the problems that we have as humanity nowadays. That is super clear for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't have, your insight of like, this is the single most damaging thing to humanity.
Right. And that's why my opinion goes so far on the side of individual freedom. It's like it is never for the individual to justify why they want to protect themselves or be free or anything. The individual shouldn't have to justify that because it's not the individual that murdered 200 million civilians throughout
Correct.
The 20th century.
Yeah. The problem is that many people still, I guess that this is a psyop in itself, but many people still believe that the country that they belong to is like a sum of the government and the people. They talk in this, fuzzy, cloudy way, like, oh, we Argentinians, in my case, I'm Argentinian, but, like, no, we have these problems. No. Your government has those problems. Your government created those problems and you have them actually. But it's not like, oh, we are bad, because that is something that I see a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I agree. It's probably a bad quirk to always say, we, when we're referring to the United States government. I actually really see the United States government in particular, based on this whole federal state divide, as really an occupying force across 50 perhaps nations of North America, where there's
the federal government, you say.
The federal government. So Washington D.C. is just occupying this vast country and really has no business ruling it.
Well, I believe that in every country of the world. I think that the problem is that people cannot think outside of the box. They have been trained to not do it, obviously, the school system, for example.
Yeah.
But what you can see is that, for example, one of the things that I was talking with Derek Bros the other day in Trivialize, about how, no one is talking about voting blank or to make it null. How you say that is void?
Yeah, nullification. So that would be great. Is this the idea that if enough people vote no one, then whatever, everybody on the ballot is barred from running and you have to redo it, something along those lines?
At least you are sending a clear message, right?
Yeah.
They need to be afraid now.
Yeah, a little bit like the recent victory in the Netherlands, where very similar to the trucker convoy, the farmer protesters in the Netherlands have won the largest percentage of seats in the parliament out of anybody. And they're the ones that are opposing the climate change agenda that would shut down the farming industry, basically, in the Netherlands, force them to sell off the land, all in the name of stopping emissions from raising cattle. And this is huge because Netherlands is the largest exporter of food in Europe.
Yes. Well, the problem is that, when they start connecting with, I participated in politics 3 times, okay, in Argentina, trying, to help the Libertarian Party, for example, things like that. And what I believe is that I also created like the network, not created, but participated in the network party. We were trying to make a more participative process for the citizens in politics, and law creation. Yeah. And, none of those projects went through. You know why? Because once you get in their territory, you're playing on their board.
Yeah, they're better at it.
And you can play only chess or checkers in this board. Makes sense what I'm talking about here? Like, if you are playing a game that has been created by these people, you're set to lose. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's one of the reasons why I think it doesn't make any sense to violently resist the government, because if there's one thing the government's good at, it's being violent. You're not going to win that one. But...
Yeah. Don't go there. Yes, I agree. Okay. Shall I follow through? Yes.
Yeah. So this is, I think so far I'm understanding that this is the reasons why you thought it was so necessary to create this project.
Exactly. We were talking about being a victim or being a protagonist, right? Like how what you make out of things that happen, because shit happens, that is it.
Right.
So it's not about what happens in your life, it's how you see it, how you read it, and how, work from there. So in my case, this was totally related or mostly related to where I'm going now, right? I was like, okay, I'm now in Playa del Carmen. I love the place. I love the people here, but what is going on, right? Like what is going to happen? And I started saying, okay, let's try to find one project, like the ones that we have now. And what I saw was that there was none back in the day that was the thing that I wanted to see there, right? I don't know, probably that happened to you too, right? When you started
I've always
researching.
imagined, some sort of village, or for me, it was there's a week-long event in New Hampshire every year, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which the Free State Project hosts. Free State Project trying to make New Hampshire that libertarian paradise. And so I always felt like I wanted that week at Porcupine Freedom Festival to be permanent, and that, with like-minded people, a little Agora Valley of shopkeepers, not regulated, that sort of thing. So I definitely.
Yeah, great. Yes, that was the problem. I don't consider myself a hippie person or a Tuluminati, how they call them here.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult for me to find this place. And
so
when
there's
started,
plenty, like, yes, you're saying, there's plenty that are like the eco community, or kind of like communes where you can go and work. But like you're saying, it's a different vibe. They might not have the same concerns and desires that we want. I mean, I consider myself a capitalist. I'm guessing you probably would as well. So it's
anarcho-capitalist. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not quite conducive to some of the classic hippie stuff. But sorry, I'll let you continue.
Yeah. No, exactly. And you know what? What you can see plainly, in daylight, in plain daylight, is that the communities that are organized in that way, they tend to be socialist/communist in their thinking. And that, as you know very well, brings a lot of problems that are unrelated with money or the economic system that you implement, right? It's about like two classes immediately appear, right? Like people think that they have rights, and all this kind of bullshit starts to appear. And yeah, well, I will move forward. I have so many things to say there. One important thing that I will put here is important. I don't know if you ever read or hear about Ivan Illich. He was a great sociologist, I would say. He was an educator, a man of many trades. But what he did, which was amazing, was to create this different concept of organization between humans. And instead of calling them communities, he called them co-vivios. Co-vivios. So this means it's a different word to start, which I really appreciated, because communist is like, it is there, right? What the hell?
Giving that positive, undeserved positive connotation.
Exactly, you got it. So I said, okay, so Ivan Illich has this amazing concept of how to think society as a set of an array of tools that help people to become the best version of themselves. So, it's a total turn in the culture that we have now about the, Western world, in which the commune part is very present. They want you to create these communities so you are easier to control, easier to manipulate, to oppose other people. And the people that is sympathetic to the regime will get the good things, and the people that is not, will get blocked.
Right.
So convivios are totally different in that sense. Is this, like a set of technologies that we all share and we all benefit from it. So basically you take care of it.
Yeah.
And that was, the base for the thinking of the culture that we are going to have in Arca. I don't know if you have any questions here.
Yeah, it sounds like basically you're talking about private property, whereas in a commune, if property is held in common, you have the tragedy of the commons where it doesn't get taken care of. There's no ownership. So when you have ownership, you have incentive and a reason to care.
Yeah, actually, I studied a lot the tragedy of the commons because I was, when I was studying psychology, that was my first career. And I was like very, like that, when you start tracking those kind of beliefs, same as climate change, you start seeing who published those for the first time, and you research on that, and you see clearly what were the real intentions behind. So the tragedy of the commons obviously happens when you don't have any personalization about the shared resource. And there's this amazing work of Elinor Ostrom and others that won the Nobel Prize in 2005, I guess. The economics Nobel Prize. I don't trust them, but well, I have to say. And what you can see there is that the study that she did was really good in the sense that she was actually going to communities, convivios, whatever, and watching what happened with the shared resources. So she, I will summarize this, but what she discovered is that meanwhile, your neighbor, and you have clear rules, like clear rule in the, I don't know, whatever is a well, whatever it is a shared resource. So you say, hey, we have 2 bottles per person, something like that, per day. And people tend to respect that if they are, like in a small community. When you get to the cities, where when you don't know your neighbor, right? Like it's totally depersonalized. Then you have these abuses.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, community enforcement of the community standards is a good way to enforce rules without being authoritarian and heavy-handed about it. And you mentioned, that you're an anarcho-capitalist. The anarcho doesn't mean that you don't want any rules. It means that there's no authority that is the ruler. It's, you agree to the rules. So when you're in a voluntary society, of course, there's still rules. The difference is that you can agree or not agree and not participate.
Exactly. You got it, nailed it, man. All right, I will move forward. So in my case, it was okay. If no one is doing this, I will do it. But for me, it was clear, that it is going to be very difficult. I never been in the industry hands-on real estate. So what I did was to create this amazing board of directors. And I had, as a mentor, Mike Cobb. I don't know if you know Mike from ECI Developments. No. Oh, okay. So Mike has more than 25 years in this, building communities or real estate developments outside of the US in Latin America for gringos. So for me, it was like, oh, perfect. Like this person actually knows what he's doing. Yep. And he has been, an amazing mentor for me. And, thanks to talking with people, etc., what I started understanding was about this, what makes communities or convivios thrive instead, of having a communist massacre like we had many times in the past. But by chance, have you studied kibbutz?
No, I don't think so. What's that?
Yeah, so kibbutz were these communities, communist communities or socialist, that during the 60s and 70s, maybe there are many open now, but these were these communities that were self-sufficient and people was totally communist. Everybody had the same payment, and this was in Israel. They did that there as this super communist experiment, and it failed. All of them failed. It's incredible. Have you ever heard of a communist thing that went well?
I have not.
I mean, for the leaders, yes, right? That goes fantastic.
Yeah. Goes, yeah. I mean, it's that old thing where anytime it fails, they say, "Well, that wasn't real communism." It's like,
right.
So
of course,
every time you try your ideology, millions of people die, but that wasn't real communism. So let's try again.
yeah, obviously. Well, the problem is that people wants to think that the world is fair, that we can make the world fair, and that's not possible.
Yeah.
we need hardship, right, to be the best version of ourselves. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's like the ultimate goal should be equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. As long as everybody has the same opportunities, and you can't change things like accidents of birth or who your parents are or where you're born, but you can strive to make a society at least allow everybody to pursue happiness, the original ideals of the United States. That's what
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For me, at least, happiness is being the best version of myself. If I'm there, if I'm being that person, I'm happy. I know about it. I'm running, every day, jogging, going to the gym, cooking good food, Yes, I believe that is exactly the same. We have the same thinking there. So what I actually did was to start trying to get this framework done to be able to think about the important things when creating this new civilization. And I came out with this, which is, obviously, we are not going to go through all of them now. But what I just wanted, to bring it on, because I think it's very important for people to start thinking, in the right things. It's obviously shelter, but you will need health and food, to manage those things too, and to think about them.
Yeah.
Have you been thinking on this? Yes.
Go on. And it's about taking responsibility for the things that you assume that in a society, you live in a society and you assume somebody's taking care of these things. The government is dealing with water management and waste disposal. And how well are they doing that? We'll look at the train wrecks and spewing chemicals and how the CDC team is telling everybody that it's safe to come back while they're actually getting sick. And you start going, okay, maybe nobody's actually taking care of these things. Maybe I'm not actually very secure. Maybe the people I was trusting to secure me are the biggest risk to me. So I think these things, get back to the foundation and think about these things. It doesn't mean that you have to be responsible for all of them. And I think this is probably going to be part of the point in terms of the networking and capitalism specializing in trading. We do that for a reason, so that you don't have to be an expert on everything, but to at least have a general awareness of what the baseline requirements of life and a functioning society are.
Right. It's like to have the menu, right? At least where to look, at least. And as we were talking about this earlier, many of the eco communities, that are more on the hippie side, they tend to oversee this. They never see any of these any of these, verticals. I don't know how to call it, categories, maybe. But then I start, talking with them and asking, hey, what do you think about food? No, this is going to be a retreat center, yoga, ceremonies. And I say, beautiful, but have you thought about the food? Come on.
So that was actually going to be my question. Maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but with the communities in the Riviera Maya, do you find that a lot of people share, now that we've kind of gotten to, our philosophy on life. Do you find that a lot of these communities share that, or is there more of the either hippie mentality, or are they not even thinking about I don't want to say like collapse of society, because I don't actually think that's going to happen, but thinking about being more self-sufficient because you need.
I will not say anything there. Sorry. Okay, go on, go on.
Well, I mean, like whether or not you think society is going to collapse, I think it's pretty clear that people are going to be responsible for more of the necessities of life and providing those things for themselves. So would you say that the communities in the Riviera Maya are, or is there anybody thinking along those same lines, or is it more of like just tourism for now?
No, I believe that the problem that we are mentioning or that you're identifying very correctly here is that what we lack in general in society, as we have it now, is strategic thinking. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, could be.
I have here another graph that I want to bring up. So this is totally related, and that is why I'm bringing it up here. When you have like things to do, those things, like operative things, that people do with their hands, like for example, building something. You have the people that is working on on whatever they need to with their hands, direct participation into the shippable thing, and that is the operational level. But as soon as we start to go up, in the hierarchy, you see people that is, more away from the actual, putting bricks on top of the other.
Right.
And you have engineers that test for, I don't know, like if it is a bridge, they will make some mathematics, geometry to understand if this is going to fall or not. And, even higher in the strategic side, we have the people that is basically paying maybe for this, or the people that, yes, is investing on it. So with this, what I want to say is that the problem that I see is that all of the communities now are more in the operational part. They are very worried about having shelter, for example, having a piece of land, maybe having some food, but they are lacking the strategic thinking about what this is in reality, which is to create a society. They're creating a civilization. They are not doing a real estate project.
Exactly. And this is why I need to, the whole point of talking to people like you who are doing this is to make sure that I succeed. And I've had this outline for the other people that have been following this project and that are subscribers, where stage one is the actual property and the land, but there's already 4 stages, and the ultimate goal is a new society, a new government, independence. And so if you don't have that strategy from the beginning, then how do you ever expect to get there? So I do agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how you select the people that is going to be surrounding you, right? Like who comes to the community. So as I said, I will not go much further on the framework here. But if people want to keep themselves updated, they can, visit arca.land and they can subscribe there. And I will let them know when I have the self-analysis survey for, when you are trying to find a place to go.
Yeah.
So here I want to change gears and go to the first of the categories of the framework, which is on-offline networks. And I believe that this is without a doubt the key to a civilization of our own design. And I will go really fast here. Any questions? Anything that you want to add here?
No. So
do you agree that this is the key of a civilization of your own design, the networks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what a civilization is, right? So, and with the points earlier in terms of can't be all online for obvious reasons. And this is another pendulum swing thing, right? It's exciting to have new technology, and it's exciting. The internet has produced leaps and bounds for society. Should everything be online, and should all of life be online? Absolutely not. And so I think that's this pendulum needs to come back a little bit to reclaim that real life experience. But I have to say, I'm kind of excited that so many people are into the metaverse and that they want to just exit the real world, because I assume that I am and you're and other people that think like us are going to be able to reclaim the real world once they're all inside the matrix.
Yeah, absolutely. I never thought about this in that way, but yes, I totally agree. Yes. And actually, one of the things that I have in the webpage of Arca is that it goes totally along with you what you said. This is the best opportunity in the world, in the history of the world, to get along with similar, like-minded people. Never been a better moment in time to do that.
I agree, because the technology, you can use the technology to your advantage. And that's like, I had this conversation in a talk with a couple guys the other day about AI and everything. And it's like, I can see how with the 15-minute cities, artificial intelligence could be used to oppress the people. The government will certainly try to do that. But it's also going to play big into empowering individuals to be able to, maybe a little bit of an arms race, but to be able to set their own standards and build things for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I've been using AI for a long time now, so I can tell you that I don't know where this is going to end, but it's going to change many, many things. Yeah. Okay, moving forward then. So I will start with why networks are key here, and I will just mention these three things because you already did, basically, you already described. But the first is that humans are very fragile when isolated. We don't have fangs, we don't have claws, no thick skin, so very fragile. Then we have a very limited attention span. We cannot take care of many things at the same time. We need the distribution of work. And three is that, in shit hit the fan moments, you don't want to be the resourceful person, right? You don't want to be, sitting in a treasure.
Right. Okay. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, you can try, you can have your bunker, you can have your private army, but as soon, as the food starts to go down, even your own guards are going to come after you.
Right. You need people to need you, basically. That's what being a productive member of a network is about.
Can you give more information about that? Because that's deep and I liked it.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, you need people to need you. I mean, if you eventually, if you're the top of a hierarchy and people, this is what happens with communism. People think that they don't need the factory owners. Like, well, the workers do all the work. So why don't we get to keep all the production? And I think you see very quickly what happens when there's nobody equipped to direct these things, because owners and managers really do a lot of things. But to your point about sitting on a treasure hoard and not really, if you're, I still think it's in a capitalist's best interest to actually care about the people that work for them, to actually, have an interest in their lives turning out well, not just from the logistical, like your safer standpoint, but just from a personal moral standpoint. But
absolutely, yes, I do agree with that. We come again to the knowing your neighbor part, right? Like, if you know your neighbor, why you want to exploit him, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's going to resent you. He's going to resent your family. Right. Things are not going to go well, right? In the cities, it's easy to do that, with much consequences.
You always have another victim too. Whereas if you depend on, if 12 neighbors depend on each other for trading, eggs, vegetables, labor, electricity, even, then you kill the goose that lays the golden egg. To try to get the wealth now, you damage any future relationship where you could have just peaceable trade. And I think the world is going through this on a macro level right now as well, where things are
with the farmers, right?
Yeah, the farmers, but even the countries breaking, less trade, less agreement, less getting along and building up together, and more suspicion and saying, well, maybe I can just take what you have instead of having to trade equally. it probably reverberates down
Yeah.
to the individuals
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Good. We'll go to the next one. So the perspective here is that, first of all, you don't need to know or have everything. You just need to know the right people. That is why networks are amazing for us humans. And second is, derived from that, that is the quality and quantity of the peers in this network will determine the quality of life that you will get and your family will get. I guess that you agree with that totally.
Right.
So what I will share now, and I will go fast with this, is the work that we have been doing down here in the Riviera Maya to build these offline networks that, for what I've seen so far, are the fundamental thing that you need to create these communities, convivios, as you want to call them. And so what I will share is the work that we did with Arca Private Club, which is the way that I found to organize this. I don't know if you have any questions there or anything to
starting when I hear private club, I like it already. I think that's probably the way to organize a lot of these things, because if you just open a business and say public welcome, suddenly the government's welcome to regulate you as well. Whereas private clubs, I think you can maintain a little bit more control over.
Excellent. Yes, yes. And in case that is needed, this can become a religion really quick. I can do that. Well, but basically they didn't have many privileges when the pandemic hit. So I don't know, maybe better a private club and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So the three things that I wanted to share today are the steps that I did for achieving this goal. Now the club is active here in the Riviera. We have more than 70 members by now, which is amazing. And I have to say, it's the best people that I ever met in only one place, in one city. I moved more than 60 times in the last 5 years. And I can tell you that here, amazingly, in the Riviera Maya is this large amount of incredible people. So what you are trying to do with a non-offline network is to gather this network of talent, skills, and obviously friends. They have to be like-minded. That is super, super important. And that will give you immediate access to things. And it doesn't matter, if the world ends or not, but you will have this amazing access to all of things that are important to you and your family. So I have 3 steps here that I will share now. Have a well-defined avatar of the people you want to mix with. That would be the first step. The second step, create opportunities to connect for those people. And third, to foster the network connections.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, yes.
No, yeah, I like thinking about this, because that's, I think starting with a club is really what I'm doing online right now with this community that this presentation is for. And so I think I could probably do this already. I could probably do this even better, have a better avatar for the type of people that we're attracting to this. And so actually this is already beneficial to me in terms of showing what I need to do better, which is the whole point, right?
Fantastic. Great. Glad to hear that. And let's go there then with the first step. So what I usually suggest, these 3 things to ask yourself. The first one is, who is the kind of person that gets into your network? And this is super important. Many people, they say, no, they have to be just good people. How that works, do you think, Joe?
Well, it seems like a pretty loose definition.
And what happens when you have loose definitions of the people that you want to be surrounded with for the rest of your life?
Right. Yeah. You don't get a very specific type of person.
Exactly. So, for example, in Arca, we are doing everything that we do for sovereign individuals, people that wants to be self-sufficient, and people that is coherent over all things. They are authentic. So that, I just gave you a few characteristics. And if people goes to the webpage, they will discover what we've been doing with the segmentation. We think about 2 different age groups one more oriented to, have a family, we live more like in the outskirts of the village, and other people younger that wants to live, more in the center where the cafes are going to be located, the co-working spaces and other things.
I think that makes sense.
Perfect. B, who are the key people in your network? And this is very important because of two things. If you have any kind of health need, particular health need, or someone in your family, the best thing is to identify who can provide that, what you need, connecting with what you said about needing things and needing people, right?
Right.
So insulin, for example, right? Like that would be a great example here. And the good thing is that, for example, Derek Bros and John Bush, they manage the Freedom Cell Network, which is one of many, many groups that are in the same vertical, I would say. And what you can do here is to go, and meet this, large amount of people that organizes around these groups, and then, identify who are, the most important players for your own network. What is the filtering process to leave the wrong people out? I don't know if you thought about this in your community.
I have thought about it. This could be very controversial, right? These days, you're only supposed to discriminate against people if they don't take a vaccine or don't think just like you. But no, there's this idea that you have to be like, yeah, welcoming to everybody. Everybody's equal. You can't leave anybody out. It's obviously completely false, because those same people that tell you that are the ones that are excluding people for not adhering to their beliefs. But to be realistic, like, yes, you absolutely have to exclude toxic people.
Exactly. Narcissists.
Yeah.
And how have you thought about how to do it, like how to filter already?
I don't have a great go-to answer for that. No.
All right. So I will share what I'm doing now.
Yep.
Currently, in the private club, we only have this one filter, which is me. Like, okay, I'm a human lie detector, I have to say it. But more than that, I plan to use two tools for the moment, when we are like scaling this up, and I will not be able to do the test by myself. So one of them is what you can see here is 16personalities.com. Have you ever seen that psychological analysis?
I might have. I've seen something along those lines. Yeah.
Pretty amazing, pretty long. It's like you have to take 1 hour to do it or more, maybe. Yeah. But the thing is that it's mega accurate. Like, oh my God, it's perfect.
Does it depend on people being truthful, or is it the type of thing where they don't know what answer they should put that you're looking for?
Well, that is a problem with narcissistic people, that probably they will lie, like you will need anyways to do some kind of, face-to-face.
Secondary,
Yeah. But the most important thing is that just the process of doing this will separate the chaff from the wheat. Yeah. Just the process of telling someone, hey, you need to do a psychological test to get into the communities, okay?
If they run the other direction, maybe that's not the right person.
Just with that, you say that a lot of times. And then the other thing that I still need to go through is this form that they need to complete. It's going to be more like a Likert kind of multiple choice replies. And it's going to be centered around freedom and, security, the pendulum, as you said, and to determine, I have the questions, some of the questions already, but, the next step will be to have this questionnaire that will help us to say really quick, because if someone tells you that freedom is not their priority,
it's probably not.
They're gone.
Right.
They're gone.
Yeah.
At least in our case, right?
Right. For what we're trying to do. So it's like it's an application process. To be a part of the club, you have to complete the application process. You have to get along with other people in the club. They have to think that you're going to be a valuable member of the club, and it's a trade. You obviously have some value you see wanting to join the club, and they have to see some value in allowing you into the club.
Exactly. There you go. Create opportunities to connect. That would be the second step that I suggest for creating your own offline networks. So these are the perks that we offer. As you said, what is the value that the club offers to the people?
Yeah.
And probably you will see a lot of overlapping with the things that you're already doing with your locals page. So yeah, I will go over them really quick. The first one is a monthly live event that we do here in the Riviera, in Playa del Carmen, in the Riviera. So this is, actually the main attraction, and the one thing that I've been doing, like I was throwing these parties for people that I know, my friends, for them to know each other, right? There was amazing people here. I started doing that organically. And then, this became the center of the club, because all the people that is there started, doing business by themselves. The people started connecting and creating amazing things.
Yeah.
So we kept that, and currently we do this monthly event. Then we will have, still we don't, the club calendar event, which is the idea of getting the people, or giving the people the opportunity to post their own events, getaways, whatever they want, so the people can arrange, so people can do things with people that they get along. Make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Then we will implement a forum. We currently have a Telegram group, but we will have something like locals, an internal social network for people to communicate between themselves, and a vetted directory of providers. And this is a very important one, because what we have nowadays is that we are connected with, for example, supermarkets, banks, etc., because we lack the way of getting those resources from other places, right? Like peer-to-peer. So this is one of the most important things for an on-offline network, because it can start in the online world like this, like have a directory with all the providers that I know, and the people in the community know. We can review them, and this is our real reviews, not bots,
Right.
or
right.
AI.
Exactly. Another problem with how the internet has gone, where at first it's like reviews work, and then suddenly you're like, well, I don't even know what a real review is. So bringing the humanity, the real world back into it. And like you're saying, in the society that we have right now, you have things like, well, I guess the USDA has checked it out, or the FDA has checked it out, and so I go to the grocery store and I'm sure it's fine, right?
Don't make me laugh, please.
Yeah, which is the point. FDA, so it's to have a parallel economy where you can get the things that you need out of life without having to go to these systems where somebody's assuring you that it's fine, but you don't really know anything about it.
Exactly. You nailed it, man. Because imagine that in the future, the lights go out, right? We lose power. We don't have the way to go to the supermarket, get, I don't know, eggs, whatever. But if you have this network pre-established, it's easy. Yeah. It's really easy. You know where to go, with whom to talk. They are in the same vibe. So you know that the police is not going to be there waiting for you.
What they're doing. Yeah, like, why aren't you just going to the grocery store? Why aren't you, oh, I'm not vaxxed, they won't let me in.
Correct. And that is why I believe that this, as you say, the markets, this is the creation of private markets.
Yep.
It's like the cell that will allow us to create these markets, because at first, let's assume I have Arca Private Club here, but you come next and you do your own network, and then we can have the networks connected.
Right.
And we don't need any intermediary, which would be the idea, right?
Right.
And then the two last things that we offer to the members is the first pick in any property that we do in the future, and a percentage discount to be determined for the purchases. You know, so the idea is that this offsets the cost that you're paying for the membership when you get the property. And the third one and last one is foster network connections, because the problem here is that if you create the network, but you don't make the network work, and do things, that tends to, disappear. Mostly if you don't have any emergency, that's it's like, oh, nothing happened. Oh, it's okay.
Right.
So yeah. So the idea is that first of all, you as soon as you start, trying to generate these networks, the first thing to do is to make business with people from the network. So, if you see the opportunity of buying your food from an organic farmer, you go there, right? I think that I heard you say the same thing. The second is to plan ahead and create these scenarios, because as we were saying at a few minutes ago, the World Economic Forum on the UN, they have these scenarios. They play these scenarios.
Right.
And that is exactly what we need to do with our networks, to prepare. Okay, what happens if, I don't know, the lights go off? Okay, we will gather there, for example, right? Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah.
And third, to establish the connections between peers of the network. So if for example, two people that they have an interest in common, you will bring that up, trying for them to connect in that interest that they have in common. Out of this, you can have, businesses coming through, partnerships, maybe even babies, but and we will need them. So
you have to move society forward.
Exactly. We will need them. Yes. All right. So I'm finishing here. This is part of the website. And as I said, this has been the best opportunity that, like-minded people like us, libertarian kinds, anarcho-capitalists, and people that just want, to be the best version of themselves to come together. Remember the project of Doug Casey?
Yeah.
But what was the name?
The one in Argentina, right? Yeah, I can't remember what the name was.
Can't remember the name, but when he created that project, the things were nothing like they are today. It was very difficult to find people like us, to move there. Yeah. Cafayate. There you go.
Yeah, and the argument was probably harder to make. Right now, it's very easy for people to understand what you're talking about because it's happening, and even in 2019, it would have seemed far-fetched for most governments on earth to lock you down and tell you that you couldn't go to church or something. Right, exactly. So I believe, we are in this moment in time that is very important for us to start, taking this commitment of bringing the vision that we have for the world to life. Yeah. So that is the end of the presentation, and we are building the new world together. I trust you, Joe, for that. So fantastic. That's great. Yeah. What is the next step for ARCA? Like, can you just give us a quick, where it's at and where it's going? And that'll be a good way to end it. Of course. First of all, thanks a lot for the time. This has been amazing. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that the audience enjoyed it too. First, second, if you need any, follow-up, let me know. And, if particular actions are needed for you to implement in your community, let me know, and we can talk over that. Now, regarding the next steps, so this is totally related with my mentorship with Mike Cobb, as I mentioned. So he, guided me to say, no, Mariano, you don't need to start looking for land, man. Wait, you first need the people. The people will pay for the land, right? He helped me out with that. And it's very logical, I guess, nowadays that we are really in the power of gathering a lot of people through online. We don't need, to invest many hours, not much money either, to reach the right people. So what he told me is that I pay more attention to the private club and keep that moving forward. That is going to become a platform for a lot of people that wants to come to the Riviera Maya and they don't know people here. That is the case with many Canadians and Europeans. So that is going to be the first step to help more people, opening the club for new people to come, and be part of our community. So already have a freedom loving community network all in the same area in what was during the last authoritarian crisis during COVID, what was pretty free place. what remained pretty free. So pretty good base of operations to start there. It's why for me, Florida is also on the short list, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. So that is the next step, actually, you know, to launch the club that is coming in the next few months. And after that, we will start doing more activities, you know, like trying to bring this community, you know, into an amazing community.
That's great. So we're obviously going to have to do a follow-up as this progresses. And for today, I'm going to include all the, you know, we've shared a few links, but I'll of course include that all below. Everybody can look into it themselves. And yeah, I think that wraps it up. Thank you, Mariano, for coming on and talking to me. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again soon.